Hello everyone and welcome to another game of Squirrels Baseball. I am Aaron and we've got one last game against the Cubs to try to see who will win this series. Cubs won the first game in a wild ending, we'll say. Yesterday we won with a bottom of the ninth walk-off home run, which is still a bit wild, but not as wild as the game before, so we'll see how today works out. Couple notes, and this might spill over to the beginning of the game, so my apologies. You're just going to have to treat that as background for a moment, or ignore me while you watch the game. First of all, I have a terrible pain in my neck today. Every time I turn to the left, I get a very sharp pain in my neck. I assume I slept weird, the problem being that my setup here, my microphone, is just off to my left, so if you hear me wincing at any points during the game, that's why. Actually in quite a bit of pain, to the point where I've gotten like shaky and weak at a couple moments, but we'll get through it. Also a bit stuffy still. I have no idea why I've been so stuffy. The other thing is something I should have done a few days ago, and I've put it off, and I don't have a good explanation as to why. But since we are playing the Cubs, it definitely feels appropriate that I ought to spend a little bit of time talking about Ryne Sandberg. As I've probably alluded to at some points, and here in real life, I am a Cubs fan and have been my whole life. And Ryne Sandberg is the reason why. I talked just this last year, so I'm going to blow my nose at points during this. Again, I don't know why my nose is so runny. But I mentioned when we played the Cardinals, that's the stadium I've been to the most, at least for major leagues. That's because my dad's side of the family is kind of split between Indiana and Missouri. So the Missouri side, sort of the original side, that's where most of them, actually all my dad's siblings were born. And then when he was just starting school is when his household family had uprooted to Indiana for a job. But my dad being the youngest of 11 kids, a lot of them were already out of the home and grown by the time he came along. So there's a pretty even split between the Indiana family and the Missouri family. We go to Missouri every year for a family reunion. And a lot of times we will first go to St. Louis to take in a game and then head down to the Boot Heel part of Missouri for the reunion. So my dad is definitely a Cardinals fan. My brother, was sensible, and he became a Cardinal fan, just followed in the rest of the family's footsteps. Just throwing out there, my mom has always been more of a Braves fan, and I think that's Chipper Jones' fault. She just found him attractive. And plus, they were on TBS all those years, so it was easy to watch their games. And as a side note, the bank that she works at opened up a fitness center, and all the training equipment they got actually was bought from the Atlanta Braves, so she has very likely worked out on a lot of the same equipment as Chipper Jones, which she was very excited about. So anyway, back to the story. So, a whole family full of Cardinal fans, who, you might know, the main rival of the Cardinals is the Cubs, but I grew up with WGN, and when I was little, Ryne Sandberg was the guy. And he is the guy that I wanted to be. I wanted to play second base. I would have liked to have hit like Sandberg. That never really happened. The two things I never really did on a baseball field is pitch and hit a home run. Came very close a couple times to hitting home runs, but never got one over in a game. But yeah, it turned out I'm not a super big guy. Never had a super strong arm. But I did have very quick reaction speed and a good glove. good footwork, so I ended up being about perfect for second base, which all worked out just fine for me. And it was a combination of watching him, and then probably also didn't mind standing out a little bit in the family as the lone Cubs fan. Got me super invested in the team, got me through the fandom, had me, super invested my whole life, and had my heart broken several times by the Cubs, as, most people have that are over, 10 years old or so. So I, went through a long time just kind of making my peace that I won't see my team win the World Series. But they did, and that was a magical year, although I do remember reading, I think it was a Wabash classmate posted to me on one of my Cubs messages that, if we've lost something, and because now they've won the World Series, and now they're just a normal team. They don't have all the long suffering behind them anymore. And I replied back that, yeah, that has been lost. They, unless they start another long 100-year drought, it's not going to be the same for the generation coming up behind us who didn't have to experience all that. I'm probably lucky. I was still, 2016... I was end of my 20s, just starting my 30s, right? Well, I guess I would have turned 30. Would have turned 30 in that summer, in June. So I didn't even have to wait as long as a lot of people did to see that. But all that was because of Ryan Sandberg. If he had not been there, I still would have had WGN. I probably would have seen the Cubs more, but I think my family influence would have taken over more, and then I just would have been another Cardinal fan in the family. So all that to say, I really, not only was Ryan Sandberg my favorite player, but I really took a deep connection there because of the time and the tears and the, just the investment I've had in the Cubs was all his fault. So then when he announced the brain tumor, and it wasn't long after that, he was gone. It hit deep. And I'm 39 years old, turned 39 in June, so got a nice big round number coming up on me. It's not been great for my mental health. Spent a lot of time reflecting on what's come and what is to come. As I can't deny this is middle life. I don't know if I can say I'm midlife crisising, because I'm not sure I ever stopped quarter life crisising. I think life is a crisis, but it's a crisis with a lot of good moments, And for a lot of years, for good or bad, the Cubs have been a part of that. And that connection deteriorated kind of quickly after that World Series. First was the dismantling of that team. Bryant left. Well, as I say leave, they were mostly traded. Baez, Rizzo especially is the one that really was a dagger that it was hard to root for this team while the current management was in place, or ownership anyway. And secondly, just the changes that have been done, some to Wrigley Field, but more than that, the area around Wrigley Field. It feels like a Disneyfication of what it used to be. It is not the Wrigley that I went to growing up, or even as a younger adult. It had been slowly changing for a while, but after the World Series, it especially just really seemed to turn hard, and unfortunately, I don't think it can be recaptured. So that is just an era that is dead and gone. Another memory, a relic of baseball. I feel like I've become with all these changes to baseball. And then not long after that came Marquee Network, and that, I think, was the final nail in the coffin. I'd still describe myself as a Cub fan, I guess. But I do not watch Major League Baseball hardly at all anymore. There was always a vein of it in me, but it's been turned up to a new level since then about supporting local baseball. I have, as mentioned before, in these games, I have the season tickets to Purdue here in town. So I'm at pretty much all of those games, and if I can't make a game, my dad will use my tickets, and many times my dad uses the tickets with me. Because my wife, she didn't grow up in a baseball family, so it's not the same for her. So a lot of times she'll stay here with one or both of the kids, and I'll go with my dad and sometimes my brother. And also the Lafayette Aviators here have always had that summer baseball for the college kids. Don't remember if I've mentioned it. I probably have. I grew up in Covington, Indiana, which is just across the state line from Danville, Illinois. So I grew up going to the Danville Dans games, who are still around. It was back then. It was the CCIW, CICL is what they were part of, the Central Illinois Collegiate League. But that later formed with the remnants of or teams that were cast off by the Frontier League. Maybe that's the better way to put it. And that's what became the Prospect League, which Lafayette would eventually join with the Aviators. There's more history of that with me in the Prospect League that we don't need to go into. It wasn't good for me. Led to me not going to the Aviators for several years until they built a new stadium, basically. Maybe we'll get into that story another day. But here was my problem with Marquee. Let's get back on track. Is that the Marquee Network, besides just being driven by greed, as all broadcasting, at least currently, is, and why regional sports networks have completely fallen apart here in the last few years. But Marquee in particular just flew on the face of all of Chicago Cubs history. It's no secret that when the Wrigley family owned the team, and Wrigley Field and all that made the ballpark the attraction. It's why they didn't feel like they had to spend money on the team, because people would come to see the ballpark. Oh, sorry to actually get to the game. Congratulations to Graves, 1,500 strikeouts. I don't even know if Pauly's hit that. They are our two big strikeout guys. So congrats to Graves. We'll put that in the write-up. So anyway, back to the Cubs. They always looked at going to the ballpark as the attraction, and that worked, and that continues to work even with the changes they've made to the stadium, though maybe not to the same degree. But Wrigley, by any measure of it, is one of the true cathedrals of the game. There's books and books written about it. It's prominent in examples of other books about baseball that aren't even necessarily about Wrigley. It has aged well. Has been updates, clearly, to keep it as a somewhat modern ballpark, and maybe has gone too far. But, I guess you do what you have to do. I'm not one of those people that say that having lights at Wrigley ruined it. I was alive when that happened, but I think I was 2 years old, so I don't remember it. That is one I don't think... that was inevitable, but having all the electronic boards and all the regular amenities instead of being the neighborhood ballpark, maybe that was inevitable, but that used to make Wrigley stand out, I think, in a good way. That no longer happens. But beyond all that, one thing that they did that I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it ended up being a great way to breed Cubs fans over a large region, was the Cubs were always accessible. Back in the radio days, might still be true. I have my doubts, given what we know about this ownership, but back when radio was the main way you followed a team, because you either just did not have TV, it was before those days, or there were only a few channels. They didn't show games on TV the same way they do now. But the Cubs essentially just gave away the radio broadcasts, just a nominal fee, so pretty much every town had a station that would carry the Cubs games on the radio, if you weren't close enough to Chicago to just pick it up that way. Which, where I lived, was kind of right on the fringe of where you could pick up WGN radio to carry those games. There are local stations that carried the games back then. But that was all over the Midwest. Cubs were on the radio. It was easy to find. And then when TV came along, there was WGN, the superstation, carrying it pretty much from the start. Which, in over-the-air days, they couldn't manage that the same way. But, as soon as satellite and cable TV became a thing, there were the Cubs. They're on WGN for anyone in the country to see. Same as the Braves had TBS. Those were kind of the two national teams that way. So you could be a Cub fan anywhere. The Cubs were there. They were accessible. They were easy to watch. And now, they're one of the most cordoned off teams in the league with their own network that is not super widely distributed. I'm not sure if it's on any of the stream. I know it's not on YouTube TV, and YouTube, Google, I should say, made no bones about Sinclair is the problem. And knowing what we know of Sinclair, I have no trouble believing that. It had trouble getting on major carriers like DirecTV. I think it was on Comcast from the start, and it did get on DirecTV, but it took a bit. Said streaming services that are very popular now, like YouTube TV or Hulu or Fubo. I think those are the three I know off the top of my head. I'm not sure it's on any of those, because no one can come to a carriage deal. You can't get it over the air, which was one of the big points I had in favor of the Chicago Sports Network when it launched, but then their deal with Comcast ruined that. I am a big proponent of over-the-air TV, and I think it's a technology we should be using more often again and encouraging more again. So it just, my relationship with the Cubs, my relationship with the team has undergone some big changes, and I'm not sure it can go back. Maybe if Marquee ever does get picked up on YouTube TV, because I refuse to change carriers to follow that channel. Maybe just having it available. I might be grumpy about how it's available, but I'd watch it and I'd pick back up and make that connection with the team, with the players again. But I don't know. I just don't know if it can go back. I'm not a child anymore. I've got a lot of history that got shattered there. And losing Ryan Sandberg was just really, I think, put a strong period on that sentence. He was the last living link, and now that is gone. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm like renouncing my Cubs fandom or anything like that, but it's not been the same for some time, and I'm not sure it'll ever be the same again, and I'm sad about that. And I think it was all ruined for money. I guess everything is in this world eventually. So it makes me sad. It's a very similar thing with the Pacers here. I don't get FanDuel Sports anymore. So I can't watch the Pacers the same way I used to, and they made the finals this year. I think they do a better job on social media to keep me connected with the team, so it hadn't fallen quite the same way that the Cubs have. Plus, there weren't such dramatic changes to the team and the structure of the team the same way they were with the Cubs. So that probably helped too, but you know, I wish I could watch them every night, and I definitely would, but it's not there in a easy to consume way without, you know, changes on my part that I'm not willing to make. And it shouldn't take, you know, I pay for TV, that should be all it takes. It shouldn't really even take that, they should be over the air, but we'll talk about that again another day, especially since I'm about to have to make some substitutions here. So we'll wrap this up. Thank you for listening to me ramble, if I did. You know, I'm not, as of yet, a video essayist. So none of that was scripted. That was all off the top of my head, which I'm sure is why it was a little rambly and probably repetitive. But it was from the heart, I can tell you that. I meant every word, and I got myself a little choked up talking about it. I don't know, just in a thoughtful mood as of late, I guess. So, 7th inning now in this game. It's a 2-0 Squirrels lead. We're going to go get Jones, who couldn't come through the other day. I do believe Zach made that last out, so that will bring Quentin into the game. I was only half paying attention, so hopefully I was right about that, but I think that's what it was. All right. Obviously, I'm going to be relying on all the little flags to tell me what people have done in this game, and it tells me Peña's 1 for 2 today. And he has an 0-2 count in this at-bat. Watches that fastball down and away, does not go chase it. Does foul this one away. Makes it a 1, well, keeps it at a 1-2 count. That fastball, again, not in the zone. Ground ball to first, but it's pulled foul. 2-2. Thought Jones might think about a breaking ball. We've got a full count now. Fastball that Peña lets go over the outside corner. 1 away. Rongo to the plate. And it just, well, Craig's haven't been paying attention. He was batting 5th the rest of this series, as he hits this one right over third base for another hit. It's like Carlos Quentin was batting cleanup. I kind of wonder. Oh no, there's Carlos Quentin. So they had a Telemaco in the field. I thought maybe they traded Carlos Quentin away yesterday, and he gets thrown out trying to steal second. So now 2 away and the base is empty. Santana at the plate with a 1-1 count. I thought maybe Carlos Quentin was traded, but apparently not. Maybe just an off day? Not sure. We go to the stretch. The Squirrels up 2-0, and Joey will lead off on the other side. Been a little quick to move the mic there, especially since I don't have to make a change. So Carlos Quentin will come out of the game. Greg Zahn, who I think is newly up from AAA, when I was looking through injuries and trades the other day, or yesterday, he's going to come in and catch, since they did a pinch run for Rongo. Joey pops up. Sabathia, who's still on the mound, will make the play over by the first baseline. Here is our Quentin. So yeah, I guess I got that right. Looks at strike one, doesn't particularly like the call. Swings and misses. Should also note he's going to bat right-handed. Hits this one into center field. It's shallow, and it is down for a base hit. A one-out single from Quentin will bring Kester to the plate. He's 2 for 3 today. And puts this one into left field. That'll get down for a base hit. Runners on first and second with only one out. Marvin, who will... shoot, I saw his flag, but I didn't really read it, so I don't know what he's done today. Pops this one up. Infield fly is called, although it probably shouldn't have been because the ball hooked foul. But Zahn caught it anyway, so it's all the same. So Chief is going to need a hit if they want to score some insurance runs here. And it might not be a bad idea with how this series has gone to this point. Another completely unrelated thing that just popped into my head that I probably should note is Chief's going to pop out and end the inning. Is that I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to keep this Squirrels team together. They've been struggling to make money, although they typically have every month this season, but there have been 2 months where they have not. They've been in the red. And I am sure that's because we've just got too much payroll. Because, you know, that's how things should work to keep balance in the league. I've got a bit of a war chest built up, but I don't know if it's 3 years worth of losing money kind of built up. So I don't know. We'll have to see how. First of all, even if we can re-sign everybody after this year again, it took a few rounds to get some guys back this year. So there might be some that just don't come back, and there's some we might have to make some decisions on to try to, you know, keep the team afloat financially. So here is the Telemaco I was talking about. I noticed he did not start the game with the batting average. He had dashes. So apparently he's making his major league debut today, or at least at the plate. Still has not gotten his first big league hit, and he won't here either as he strikes out looking. Pablo Ozuna then to the plate is 0 for 2 today. He looks at strike 1. Looks at strike 2. And a ground ball to short. Joey with the throw to first will end the top of the inning. 2-0 Squirrels as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Terry is going to lead things off for Indianapolis. Looks like the Cubs will change pitchers. I think we've seen Lindstrom in every game so far in this series. Well, say so far. This is the last game in this series. Pretty sure he's pitched in both the last 2 days. Terry looked like he fouled out twice and then hit a double. Looks at strike 1 here. Yeah, that slider is down in the dirt. Fly ball into the left center gap. That might have been a home run in a lot of parks. Not this one. So he'll settle for his second double in a row. That'll bring Frank to the plate. Runner in scoring position with nobody out. Has a 1-1 count. Swings and misses to make it 0-2. This is going to be fouled away. Fouled off his foot. Seems to be okay. 1-2. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. 1 down now with the runner in scoring position. Tom at the plate. And he fists this one over to second, so that will move the runner to third, but there are now 2 outs. Sweeney with his first at-bat of the game, a run 90 feet away. Swings and misses at a slider. This one just fouled down the right field line. This is going to be popped up in front of the plate, and the Cubs managed to not give up a run. So we'll go to the 9th. The Squirrels up 2. Pitcher spot due up for the Cubs. See if they pinch hit here. For right now, they are going to put in J.J. Hardy. We're going to get Shibuya, see if that changes their mind on Hardy. Probably not. we are going to put Shibuya into Tom's spot since we don't want to take Sweeney out of the game he just got into. That'll bring Martinez in to catch the last inning.
Your attention, please. Now coming on the pitch for Indianapolis, number 13, Shibuya.
And apparently that does change their mind about J.J. Hardy. We go find Grindel, who has some numbers. I don't know how recent of a draft pick he is, if he was from this past draft or if he's been here a year or two. But not one I remember seeing. But he's got good numbers regardless. Has a 1-2 count in this at-bat. And this one right to first. Terry will catch it on the fly. Matt Merton to the plate now. 1 for 3 with a double. Looks at strike 1. Swings and misses for strike 2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. I don't think this is a jinx to say that this is going much better than the last time Shibuya got in the game. Though it still has room to go south, I believe. Shibuya did not retire anybody in his last outing when he blew that save and nearly blew the whole game, though the offense at least kept it off his record. A 1-2 count on Floyd. Make it 2-2. Comes down to their last strike. This one will get through the right side of the infield for a base hit. That'll bring Carlos Pena to the plate. He would be the tying run, and he does have the ability to put it out of the yard. Looks at a ball low. This one catches the lower part of the zone. Then a high fastball that is too high. Breaking ball gets a swing and a miss. Cubs again down to their final out. Called strike 3. I don't blame Pena for complaining, but it does end today's game. Your final today, Chicago Cubs 0, Indianapolis Squirrels 2. We'll take a look at these highlights. That'll be new to me too, since I spent the game yapping instead of actually narrating it as the usual. But hopefully you all can have some grace for me for one game. And these, over 1,000 now probably have done. Hundreds at least. Frank is going to be your player of the game. Thank you everybody so much for watching and listening. If you'd like to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, feel very free. The narration today is not the usual, so if this is your first time here, normally it's a more traditional baseball broadcast. Yeah, we've got the Padres, I am pretty sure, back here at Pan Packet Park tomorrow. We will see you then.